Good morning, I'm Dylan Purcell. Gonna talk about chimpanzees today for my presentation. So a little bit about them. Wild chimpanzees are only found in Africa. They walk on all fours using their knuckles for support, thus sometimes referred to as knuckle walkers. This form of locomotion means chimpanzees have evolved to have longer arms and legs, using these long arms to reach for fruit and to swing from branch to branch. Uniquely, chimpanzees have opposable thumbs and big toes, which enable them a precise grip. Male chimpanzees are slightly larger and heavier than females, noting that they rarely live longer than 50 years in the wild and over 60 years in captivity. Chimpanzee culture is much the same as our own, in which different groups share different cultures. However, like us, chimpanzees share general behaviours across cultures, these being group structuring, communication, and hunting practices. Chimpanzees live in social groups called communities, consisting of around 60 to 70 chimpanzees. A male hierarchy establishes the social standing, even though females have their own hierarchy. Other male chimpanzees patrol the community boundaries, and if they encounter neighbouring chimpanzees, another good question is, are chimpanzees conscious, intelligent, and do they show emotions? Well, the cultural differences, often known as traditions in ethology, are well-established phenomena in the animal kingdom and are maintained through a variety of social mechanisms. Chimpanzees have been seen to communicate amongst one another through posture, gestures, and facial expressions, thus suggesting a complex communication and emotional social system. Chimpanzees are very social animals like us. They rely heavily on physical contact, such as social grooming, in order to maintain social relationships or to improve friendships within the community. They also communicate using a wide variety of calls for different things, such as food sources, successful hunts, and danger. Each chimpanzee has their own individual and distinctive pant hoot in order to be identified. Chimpanzees have been observed using tools to problem solve, such as branch stems to extract termites from their mounds, leaves as sponges to soak up water to drink, rocks as weapons, and hard surfaces on which to crack open nuts or to obtain fruit. Chimpanzees have also been taught sign language of 400 or more signs, in which some chimpanzees that like painting are able to tell you what they've painted. Right, some of the human interactions, right, there's a lot of normal ones that we know about. So interactions with humans basically consisted of chimpanzees being captured for research purposes or for captivity in zoos for entertainment. Right, not much was known about chimpanzees and how they would interact with humans in the wild until famous Dr. Jane Goodall devoted her life to studying wild chimpanzees. Right, encounter that Jane noted many ground findings that changed the way in which we look at chimpanzees today. On one occasion, Jane followed a male chimp who she called David Greybeard through the bush. Once she arrived through the other side, she seen David waiting for her. She sat down next to him and put her hand out to offer him a red palm nut, to which David turned away. Jane persisted, where David took the nut, dropped it on the ground, and looked Jane in her eyes. He then gently squeezed her fingers, which Jane said, "This is how chimpanzees reassure each other." Thus, a chimpanzee has been seen to communicate in a way that predates human language. He clearly understands Jane's motive. Should we be concerned about their welfare? Well, one of the main concerns for chimpanzees' welfare in the wild is habitat loss and hunting. There is degradation of their forests through logging, mining, farming, and land development. Remaining habitat patches are often small, unconnected, thus leaving chimpanzee populations isolated. And the other concern is the use of chimpanzees for biomedical research. However, this has changed over the recent years. For example, in 1997, the Introduction of Chimpanzees Health, Improvement, Management and Protection Act was passed by the year 2000, establishing a national retirement sanctuary for chimpanzees no longer needed for research. This established a chimp haven located in US Louisiana. In 2013, the National Institute of Health announced an end to the most invasive research on chimpanzees by the federal government, which continues to impact on all federally funded research using chimpanzees. Trying to change the listing of chimpanzees was actually difficult. chimpanzees in the wild were actually listed as endangered, and chimps born in the captivity within the US were classified as threatened, thus exempting chimpanzees in captivity from the Protection of Endangered Species Act. However, in 2015, the petition was passed by the Fish and Wildlife Services, declaring that all chimpanzees are classified as endangered under the Endangered Species Act, thus allowing all chimpanzees to receive extra protection regarding their import, export and sale, as well as harming and/or killing of chimps. To this date, chimpanzees do not, however, have the same legal rights as humans. Thanks very much for listening to my presentation.